Welcome to my TP plant support tutorial at willowandyoga.com. And here you can see me standing with the TP in front of all my homegrown willow. Enjoy. So here we have all the materials you're going to need. The uprights, 8 of those. Some 6-foot browns and steamed, a couple of different colours so you can see the difference. 5-foot browns and steamed 4-foot browns, and then some smaller willows for the top. I've made myself a template with 8 holes in it, but you can put the holes in the ground. And I've got a block that sits on to give me a little bit of height. And then I've also just got a pair of secateurs and a cable tie, which is very important. And finally, the loppers if you need to be trimming the top of your long uprights. So here I'm going to take the block and put it underneath my template. As I said, this is 60 centimeters wide with 8 holes. This little space makes my uprights more stable as I weave. I've taken the uprights here, all 8, and a cable tie, the very important cable tie I talked about earlier. And they're going to go in one at a time. They're over my right shoulder, and as you can see, I'm looking at the bend. I need the bend to be outwards. If it's inwards, the TP narrows. I pop them in the base, and I'm going to hold them and secure them in my left hand. Each time, the next stick sits on the outside. I will gradually work round, again on the outside. That's really important. If you just bundle them together, it doesn't work. This way they end up in a lovely spiral at the top. Slowly, carefully. You can do this a number of times. I've dropped the cable tie numerous times. I have to start again. In goes the final one. You take the cable tie. I use reusable cable ties and pull them in. And I'm just going to check it's straight. Don't worry too much because you can manipulate them as you weave. But yeah, in the center, perfect. So here I have 16 6-foot willows. I'm going to place 2 between every set of uprights. These can be green willow during the winter months, which is great. You don't have to soak and prepare them, or prepared 6-foots. And there we are, 2 in every position. So we're going to begin weaving the ring at the bottom. I lift the first set up, put them behind the upright and hold them with my hand facing down. The second set joins. I'm holding both sets. And as I weave, I hold the weavers really low with my palm up. They go in on the right hand set of weavers and out the next space. So they're always adjacent to each other. The second set then go in and out. It is important you weave both sets at the beginning. So as I move around, we're going to add more weavers to the ring. So here we go, they're going to come in, and this time you're going to weave all 4. You've added 2 more, so you've now got 4. They come in and out. I'm going to look at this one in a bit more detail. There is a hole, so you come up through the hole, behind the upright, you sit the thick end on the ring, and all 6 come in and out. Just trying to keep the weave level as well. Don't push down with your left hand. Up they come again. Butt end sitting on the edge. If they don't sit on the edge, you watch, they ping out. So up the triangle, behind the upright, on the edge. Hold the cross, don't hold the butt ends. All 6 come in and out. And then we've got one more set to put in. Again, hold the cross, palm up, loop them round and out. Then just going to lift the previous butts and put them on top to complete the ring. So these are the last 2 sets of weavers that work differently from the rest. They go in as normal, they cross over, but they must loop underneath the previous weave to connect them together, or else they would just spiral up and be separate. The last set go in, all 8, as before, palm up, loop them over. I've let go of the cross this time to help me bring them in and loop them round so nothing gets kinked. I pull them a little bit to the right to keep them nice and tight, And there we have the 2 sets to finish off. Again, over and under. So we're weaving these weavers right to the ends, over and under, and as you can see, finishing off with the tips, over and under. There we go. Once more, over and under. And finally we secure the tips again, over, but this time instead of coming under, sticking out, I weave them up through the hole and pull them so they come underneath that top weave. The same with this set, and that's finished. And now on to trimming it up. Using my secateurs, hopefully they're sharp, I'm going to trim the thick ends. The upright moves, so I'm not going to trim them too close in case they ping out. Here we are. I like having a nice diagonal end, and then I trim the tips, collect them all together and work my way round so it's nice and neat. And here we have the ring trimmed up with all the cuttings ready for composting. So here we are with another 16 6-foot weavers which I've prepared. I've soaked and prepared. You can also use the greens in the winter. I'm placing 2 between each set of uprights as before, and we're going to spiral up to the top of the teepee using the same weave throughout. The first set come up. I take the butt ends, put them up through the triangle, behind the upright. Immediately I weave them in front of one upright and out behind the next one. The second set I do the same. They also go in the ring at the bottom. It's important, only the first 2 sets go in the ring. Picking up the third set, they do not go in the ring. There's the tiny little triangle between the first 2 sets of weavers that I slided in, and then I weave as before over the other set, out the next space. I move round, pick them up, hold the cross in front and behind. It's the same weave all the way up. I don't want to spiral up too high. As you can see, I'm keeping them nice and low so we get this lovely gradual spiral. Each time I'm adding the 2 weavers, so I've got the same thickness as I have on the ring at the bottom, and that's key to making your teepee plant supporter look good. It's keeping the same thickness. Checking I've got them in the right place again. Round I come, up through the gap, hold the cross, in and out, and there you have it. So I'm now laying out the 5-foot browns. Previously I used 6-foot steamed, and I'm just putting 2 between each set of weavers. Now I'm checking the spiral. I've got about a hand's width as I go up so it looks visually even, and also checking the thickness of the willows. I'm adding 2 so I keep that looking even as well. You don't want it to get too thin or too thick. Same as before. Insert them up behind the upright, hold the cross and weave in and out, pulling to the right so it's nice and tight. At this point you can adjust your uprights so they're all going in the right direction, they're not getting too close to each other, and keeping an eye on the shape, the complete shape of the teepee. Round we come, and one's broken, so I trim that one off in a minute, and I'll add an extra if it needs to keep the thickness up. Trimmed up, and off we go. As we weave up, we need to use a shorter willow, and this is a 4-foot brown. It's thinner, so I might need to use 3, but I'm going to start with 2 and see how it feels. So I'll begin by adding 2s to see how it feels. And that's working okay, but as I weave up, I can then feel it's a bit thinner. So this time I'm going to add 3. 1, that looks like a shorter rod, so I'll put that to one side, and 2. This time 2 sets of 3 to keep the weave thick. Sometimes adding 2, sometimes adding 3. But as you can also see, as the willow gets longer, it's harder to get in and out, starts knocking your knuckles. Changing to even shorter willow, 3-foot steamed now. So inserting the 3 foots between the uprights as before, and this time I'm using 3 straight away to keep the thickness of the weave the same all the way up. So I'm beginning adding 3 each time, but it gets very tight in between the uprights at this point. Bringing them round up vertically, and it's quite nice because you can stand up now, you're not kneeling down and squatting all the time. This time I've decided to change and only use 2, because as it gets narrower the thickness will stay the same with less willow. These uprights have behaved really well, they've stayed evenly spaced. Sometimes this doesn't happen, it depends whether you've got kinks or bows in them. It's a very natural product and you just have to accept it's not always going to look exactly how you want. And finally, the shortest weavers I can find to finish off the top of the garden support. Continuing the last little bit of weaving here, and I tuck the weavers between my legs so I don't have to keep bending up and down. And I'll check, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Sometimes when it gets really tight at the top and one of the uprights is in deeper, I go around the outside of it. I go around 2 rather than 1. It's too difficult to get in and out. It doesn't really show at this point. It just makes it a little bit better on your knuckles.
Move your hand, front one, that's it. Done.
And the final little bit of weaving, I just going to finish them off and leave them sticking out at this point where we're going to tie a willow knot. So I'm going to use a long 5 foot to tie the top. I'm going to bend it around, that's it. You want to pull this as tightly as you possibly can. Hold the willow with the left hand and use the right hand to ease it round and round to this point here. Then you cross back over the butt end. Remove the cable tie. So you can remove it before. The teepee should be very secure with your weaving. And you go anti-clockwise over the back each time, coming behind, so it tightens the knot even more, and then you loop it through and gently pull it. I'm going to do the same knot now round all the willow ends. I loop it round, I have the butt end towards me, and then I begin the same thing anti-clockwise round and round the back, and as before just take the last loop through. Oops, sorry, my hand gets in the way at this point. So trimming up, I do one section at a time, otherwise I move around and around and miss points. I cut the butt ends at an angle so they look really neat, and I cut all those little tippy bits off. If you want to spend a lot of time feeding them in, you can, but for me, I just like to trim it all up. And I come down section by section to the bottom. You can cut really close to the uprights at this point. They don't have any movement. But as you get closer to the bottom, if you're going to make it and give it as a present and put it in the car, you can see there's a gap at the bottom where the upright can move. So you want to keep them a little bit longer so they don't ping out. Enjoy. And here is the completed plant support. It's best used with annuals, and take it in during the winter, then it will last about 3 years. I use mine at Christmas adorned with holly, ivy and lights. Thank you for watching.